you are here today. Give me a thumbs up or a little heart if you're here and watching live. And if you're viewing the recording, go ahead and let me know you're here by giving me a thumbs up or a little heart. Okay? So today we are going to talk a little bit about classroom management and how what we do can influence and impact student behavior. Okay? And these are 3 tips that I use in my own classroom. So, as teachers, we know that the behavior that we're going to see in our classrooms is fairly predictable from year to year, right? For the most part, the behaviors that we see are nothing new, right? And generally speaking, we know what the challenges are going to be, right? And I could sit here and list all the different behaviors out, but today, I really just want to focus on one classroom management idea or concept that's really 3 ideas that work in harmony together to produce one outcome, right? The first is emotional steadiness. You may have heard the term emotional constancy. The second is responding independently to student misbehavior. And also, the last thing is not praising outcomes. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So, as a teacher, our ability to remain emotionally steady, regardless of whatever situation is going on, is going to communicate a lot to our students, right? For one, they're going to be able to trust us to handle any situation that arises in our classroom. They're also going to be able to rely on us as the stable authority figure in the room, and that's a big deal. And for me, I'm self-aware enough to recognize when I'm in the green zone, the yellow zone, the pink zone, and the red zone. And so for me, if I'm in the green zone, all is well with the world, and in class, it's all good. The yellow zone, for me, is my alert zone. It tells me that something's wrong, and I need to go deal with it. The pink zone, for me, is kind of like that blend between the yellow zone and the red zone. And so the pink zone is when I'm getting angry, right? And the red zone is just on the horizon. And when I get into the pink or the red zone, that's when I know, have to be self-aware, that I have to separate myself from the moment. Got to take a breather before I go and I talk to someone. I have to do that because it's not going to be good if I don't. So for me personally, in order to maintain my emotional constancy, I either have to be in the green zone or the yellow zone. And when I feel my heart rate going up and I'm getting upset over something, because we're human, right? I have to be aware of a lot of different things. I've got to be aware of my tone of voice, my word choice, and I also have to remind myself consciously to speak slowly and to keep a neutral facial expression, and also for me to physically get on the student's level. So I don't want to be, most of the time I don't want to be towering over them. I generally try to, lower myself or, stoop at the table or something like that and really get on their level because I want to communicate with them, in their space, right? And so also let me just be abundantly clear that when something gets to this point, it's a serious issue. It's blatant, right, that the student's not going to comply with what I've asked them to do over multiple varied attempts at redirecting the student, right? But this is so important, right? All of this, maintaining our emotional constancy, this is so important, all of it, because not only for the relationship that we have with the actual student, but also because all the other students are watching, and I keep that in the back of my head when I'm handling the situation, that people are watching, right? And they're learning. They're learning a lot about me and how I'm going to handle situations and how seriously I handle issues and all those types of things. They're learning a lot, right? So emotional constancy is the first thing. The second thing is that for me, what I've witnessed in the field is that every teacher, right, knows that they need to be emotionally constant and emotionally steady in the classroom. Everybody knows that intellectually, but some teachers are better at it than others. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons, right? It could be temperament. It could just be that they have more patience, right? I know that for me, I don't have a ton of patience in general. I'm a millennial, instant gratification, right? So I don't have a ton of patience in general. But I think, personally, what helps a lot of people, including myself, maintain emotional constancy is that they as individuals, have liberated themselves to respond independently to the situation, regardless of whether the kid can control themselves or not. So, for example, growing up, I learned from a super early age that any kind of antics or misbehavior or attempts at manipulating my parents, oh, it's never going to work, ever, right? I was never going to control my mom or my dad, and as a result of knowing that I could never manipulate them, my behavior was pretty good. I knew that I couldn't control them, and so as a teacher, or really as anybody who's working with children, but when you can respond and act independently, regardless of the child's demands, behavior, right, any of that, and the kid knows that he or she can't control you, the unwanted behavior is going to decrease, if not stop altogether, right? And so for me, that's the keys to the castle. That's the secret sauce to maintaining emotional constancy, right? And so I know as a teacher that I don't react to student behavior. I respond as a totally independent being. And no student is going to pull me into an argument. They can't control me, right? They can't influence what I do. They can't manipulate me with their behavior. Nothing, right? And so because in my classroom this message is so abundantly clear to my students that none of them can make me respond and react directly to them, right? And that I'm a completely independent being. I'm calling the shots regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what anybody does. It reduces the behavioral problems, right? They can't push my buttons because I'm emotionally disconnected from that in terms of my response to the situation on the outside, right? On the inside, yeah. Am I angry? Am I upset? For sure, because we're not robots. But on the outside, Fort Knox, and that helps me to maintain my emotional steadiness, just being an independent being, right? And the last thing is, and I think this is super important, really in all areas of life, because we as human beings, we all deserve attention for the good things that we do and the contributions that we make. But emphasizing outcomes, and that was the third thing, is don't emphasize the outcome. By emphasizing outcomes, that doesn't create growth mindset in our kids. It's actually going to hurt them in the long run, right? And so in our schools, I see, and just in schools in general, I see way too much emphasis put on outcomes, being a valedictorian, salutatorian, class rank, GPAs, grades, test scores, all of these things, right? They're all outcome based. But as a teacher, for example, let's say that I have a struggling student and they get an A on a quiz that they've worked hard for, right? They came to tutoring after school, they got extra help, they did all these things, right? So for me as a teacher, instead of saying, wow, congratulations, you got an A, that's outcome based, I'm going to say something like, wow, I'm so impressed that you enjoyed the hard work that you put into your studies, right? That's going to emphasize growth mindset. So anyway, that was just a few tips for today, and I hope that was helpful to you. So I will talk to you again soon, and have a great day. Bye.